Hey guys, welcome back to CheatSheetPros.com. Today is Saturday, February 12th, 2022. We're going to take a look at the NBA slate from a sports betting perspective using our NBA cheat sheet. As always, we're going to flip through these games from the bet tab on the bottom of the NBA cheat sheet. I'm going to show you what our model has for the game, what the Vegas line is, the differences, including the last 10 games for each team, and any sports betting trends that we do notice. I'm also going to give you my play of the day and about 5 additional plays on top of that I like. And then I'm also going to go over every game and kind of give you a lean and what I'm thinking from a betting perspective. So let's go ahead and get started. We got Memphis going to Charlotte. Memphis is coming off of 4 straight wins here, all by double digits. They've won 6 of the last 7 by double digits, but they really haven't played any good teams. I mean, Orlando, Clippers, Detroit, I don't really consider them to be very competitive teams. Charlotte was in a skid here where they lost a bunch of games, including these 4. Cleveland's a decent team. Boston was red hot. And then Miami, Toronto, and Chicago. These are 3 solid teams here, so them getting beat is no surprise. They did get a slam dunk against Detroit where they came back and put up 141 points and beat them by 22, so hopefully they have a little bit of confidence. 7.5 is too much for me to lay for Memphis. You can see our model here. We've got this 127 to 108, so Memphis winning by about 19 points. However, that's a lot of points against Charlotte after the win they had, so I don't think Memphis is a terrible play, but if you wanted to go Charlotte and take the 7.5, I don't think that's a terrible play either. I don't even mind a little bit on the Charlotte money line to see if they can come back and get a big win here at home. But Memphis is clearly the better team right now. They're 8-2 over the last 10 games. They are on fire. They are number 2 in our last 10 power rankings. And then looking over here, Memphis is on a 7-1 against the spread play. Charlotte is 1-4 against the spread over the last 5 games. And these teams did play once in November, and Charlotte won 118 to 108. So I think you could go either way on this game. I don't have a clear play on either side, but that's just kind of my opinion on, depending on your risk reward, what you want to do. Going here, Spurs at the Pelicans. Last 10 power rankings, teams are pretty close. You can see here we have the Spurs -5, and they're getting 4.5. I didn't see any significant injuries, but I need to check again later on this afternoon. With our model having Spurs by 5, and then they're catching 4.5 in the spread, I don't mind going just a Spurs money line here for a unit and then taking a shot here. I think it was plus 190 or plus 200, depending upon your book, so that's a decent play. And I mean, over the last 10, the teams are 4-6, 5-5. Spurs are coming off of a huge win. You can see the Pelicans here. They struggled. They had, 3 losses here by double digits, and then they won some games here. So that's probably why they're leaning the favorite by Vegas. But, I mean, they beat Houston twice by 13. That's not very big of a win. Houston's terrible right now. Other than Brooklyn, they're probably one of the worst teams in the NBA. Detroit, that is a weak team to play. They did get a decent win against Denver. Denver struggled a little bit on the road, but then they came back and they faced Miami at home, who is a solid team, and they wrecked them 112 to 97. Miami beating them by 15. So I like Pelicans, but I don't think they're up for this game. The Spurs, looking at their last 10 games, they're kind of up, down. They're all over the place. They did have a streak of 3 losses here, but Phoenix, Miami, and Golden State, those are stellar teams. And then Golden State only by 4 and Phoenix only by 5 on the road. So that's pretty impressive for the Spurs. And then they also played Houston, except for the Pelicans here beat them twice by 13. And then when the Spurs did, they thumped them by 25, beat them 131 to 106. And then they lost to Cleveland, so they kind of laid down there. But then I did not think they had any chance in this game against Atlanta as a dog. And they came out and beat them by 15 on the road. So I like the Spurs here, plus the 4.5, or even Spurs on the money line. That's one of the plays that really jumps out on the cheat sheet. And if you don't want to look at anything else, just look here at the differences. And again, unders, I just fade those if it says lean under, but anything that's like 7, 8, 9 differential than the spread, those are games we want to look at for a play. So this has San Antonio by 10, and how we come up with that number is we have them winning by 5. They're getting 4.5, so that's 9.5, and it rounds up to the nearest whole number, so by 10, so that's a game that we want to take a look at. Moving on here, we have OKC at Chicago. This is a big spread. Chicago opened at -13. You can see we have a difference of 5. Since that's less than the 6, 7, 8, 9 range, it doesn't really pop as a play. I would look at this and say the spread's too high. So looking at this, our model, we have Chicago winning by 18, so covering this spread by 5 points. That's how we come up with the difference. So Chicago should easily win this game. I mean, Oklahoma City's last 4, they've been blown out by double digits, which you can see they were beat by Toronto, Philadelphia, Golden State, Sacramento by 10, 12, 19, and 13. All of those are solid teams, except for Sacramento was really bad at that time and beat them by 10, so not real impressive on that front. 13's a lot of points, though. I mean, I could definitely see this being like a 9, 10, 11-point game and OKC getting a backdoor cover. So if you can get Chicago a first half line, I like attacking it that way, doing a first half, and then I'll have a first half money line parlay for you at the end. The Bulls have been solid. They did have 2 losses here against Philadelphia and Phoenix. They hung with Phoenix, though, only losing by 3, and then they came out and they beat Charlotte by 12 and Minnesota by 12. So clearly Chicago's the better team here. They're better against the spread. You can see here they're 33-22 against the spread on the year. They're 19-9 against the spread at home, which is phenomenal. But OKC is also decent against the spread, where they're 33-19 and 18-10 on the road. I lean Bulls here, but I'd find a way around that laying 13. I'd go first half line and attack it that way, because if they are down at halftime, you guys know my motto, come back with a second half hammer and go after it. So that's one of the games that we do like. For some reason, I was thinking on my book when I looked at it this morning, they were -10. So I'll have to go back and take a look at it. All right, so going on, we got Sacramento at Washington. I'm going to come back because I really want to talk about that play. So going to the next game, we have the Clippers at Dallas -7. I like this as a play. They just played him and beat him by 7, but this is a game where they were up a little bit more than that at halftime, and then they almost gave it up. I think we had 6.5. This was one of our posted plays earlier. But you can see here our model has Dallas 122-97, so we got them winning by 25 points, so we like laying the 7. And even though they just did it, it was a close game, they're going to come back, rematch again. And in that game, I believe Luka had 51 points, if I saw it correctly. It was 41 or 51. He had a massive game. But other than that game, looking at the prior 2, they did play Memphis, Milwaukee, lost by 24 and 26 points. So I'm happy to go right back here, lay the 7. That's a line they just pushed at, but it's one that I think Dallas could get them and get out of hand. Cleveland at Philadelphia. You can see our model here. We've got Cleveland -4, but they're catching 4.5. I don't like that. It's a difference of 9, so it does pop as a play on our sheet. But looking at this, Cleveland's won 4 straight games. They beat Indy twice, the Spurs, and Charlotte, who were struggling. So they're not huge wins, and some of those were only by 1 and 7 points. Philadelphia, though, they've kind of struggled. They've lost 3 of the last 5. They beat Oklahoma City, which is not that impressive. Then they had an impressive win on the road where they beat Chicago, but then they lost to Phoenix by 5, which is fine. Phoenix is a solid team. They lost to Dallas, but then somehow they lost to Washington. So Philadelphia is a little all over the place. Harden is not going to play tonight. I don't believe he's going to play at all this weekend. So I'm staying away from him until they get him worked into the lineup and see what happens. But the NBA model is kicking out a play on Cleveland plus 4.5. Me personally, I'm not going to wager on it. I'm going to go ahead and stay away from it here. But I definitely see it. Philadelphia is only 10-17 against the spread at home. And then Cleveland's coming off of 4 straight wins, so they do have a little bit of confidence. Moving on down here, we have Denver at Toronto. One of the plays I do like is Toronto -3.5. I can't remember if I got -3 or -4 on my book. Our model, you can see here, we have Toronto -5, so we have them covering, but it's not enough to pop as a play to look into. This is one that I just really like. Looking at it, Toronto's on an 8-0 against the spread run, and they're actually on a 5-1 over run, and then Denver is on a 11-5 over run. So if you want a trendy pick, I also like Denver, Toronto over 222.5. I believe it's 223 when I looked at it right before I started recording this video. As far as the over-under, both teams are positive. Toronto's 31-23 for the over, and they are an 18-10 overplay at home. Toronto has just been absolutely amazing against the spread. They've won 8 straight games, and they're each getting a little bit better. The last 4, they've won all by double digits, and against Charlotte and Atlanta, those are solid teams. And then, they cakewalked these other 2 with Houston and OKC, 19 and 19. But, they want to pound on the bad teams. That's fine. Denver has struggled on the road. So against the spread, they're 25 and 30. They're upside down. They're 14 and 16 on the road. So they've just had their struggles out there. And then we've got, looking over here, we have Boston. So they just lost to Boston. The 2 games they won were against the Knicks and Brooklyn, which are not very good. And then they lost to the Pelicans, Utah, and Minnesota. So I think Toronto laying this small number here. I think this line should be 5, 6, 7, especially Toronto playing at home as hot as they've been. So I'm definitely going to take it at anything that's 3, 3.5, or 4 points. That's one of the plays that I do like. And a trendy pick that I found in the against the spread numbers is the over 223. So I'm probably going to go with that as well. Anytime I can justify an over, you know me, I'm going to go after it. Orlando at Phoenix, this spread is way too high at 16. You can see our model here. We have Phoenix by 19. I did not expect it to open at 16 points, though. That's a lot of points, so I'm going to stay away from it. We only have a difference of 3, so that's not really enough, but Orlando has not been good. They've lost 3 of the last 4, and 3 of those were by 15 or more points. They managed somehow to beat Portland here, but then they lost by 15, 33, and 20. So Phoenix could definitely cover this spread, but I don't like it. If you want to put it in the first half money line parlay, I would rather go that route. Phoenix, they're 9-1 over the last 10 games, only losing to a red-hot Atlanta team at the time. And then they've got 4 double-digit wins over that span. And then these games here, the ones that were somewhat close, this is in the yellow, Philadelphia and Chicago. These are tight game spreads, and they really haven't played a horrible team. Brooklyn, and they won by 10, but heck, Orlando's playing better than Brooklyn right now. As far as the against the spreads, there's not a lot of trends that really jump out here, so this is a game I'm just going to stay away from, but it will be a first half money line parlay that we go over. Now, one of the other games that I love as a play is Miami minus 10. Now, how I get this is you can see Miami by 17 difference. So our main model here, we've got Miami by 27. Now, we don't think they're going to win by 27. That's just saying, hey, our model is spitting out a spread of 27. And if you can get this for 10 or 11, I like it. And then I always want to look at the last 10 games here and get an idea. The red are blowouts. We just consider that a double-digit loss. And Brooklyn is awful. They are 0-10, being outscored 106.5 to 120. And then, And then 7 of the last 10 games, they've been beat by double digits, including some huge losses here. They got beat by 35 to Boston, 20 to Denver, and 23 to Utah. So I'm going to take Miami and lay whatever it is. They did have a 1-point game against Washington, which Washington was horrible. They didn't have anyone in that game, and they still got beat. So Miami should be able to roll them here. Miami's got 4 straight wins. I love to see the green. These are double-digit wins. So the last 4 games, they've won by 15, 21, 18, and 17 points. So I like Miami here. And I may do something because you can get a first half line at probably 5.5 or 6. So I may bet the game line and the first half line and just kind of diversify my risk, or just try to get a double hit and hit it on both. Because if Miami's up 15 at halftime, the second half line is going to be just stupid. So going on, the last game, Lakers at Golden State. I won't spend a lot of time on this one. We've got a pretty tight game, 1 point to Golden State, but the spread is 7, difference of 6. So model spitting out a play on LA Lakers plus 7. I don't mind it. I'm not going to bet it. It's not a game that jumps out for me. Golden State, they've lost 2 games in a row. They lost by 26 to Utah, and then they just got beat by 2 to the Knicks, which is kind of shocking after they had an 8-game run, and 4 of those 8s were double-digit wins. Lakers, they're 3-7 over the last 10 games. They've been blown out twice. They have 1 double-digit win against a poor Brooklyn team. So I don't like this. I mean, they got beat by Portland, and Portland didn't have anyone in that game. I mean, they were pretty much the second-tier players, and Portland won the game. and I was shocked. I think it was a 7.5 point line, and I remember in the chat saying that's kind of a joke that the Lakers are favored by that many points, and they haven't really won that many games by that, which you can see here, they really haven't. So model says take Lakers +7. I don't like either side. I think it's a risky play. And then flipping out. Now let's go back to this last game we were talking about. Now this is my play of the day. It's going to be Sacramento. It opened at -1.5. It's now -3. You can see our model. We have Sacramento -9. And if you remember, our model has a heavy weight on the last 3 games. So what's changed? So Sacramento, they had the big trade. They picked up Sabonis to help with the interior rebounding. And man, they saw dividends right off of the bat. So looking at this, so one of our plays of the day was this game right here. We had Minnesota over Sacramento just because of the rebounding, and Sabonis wasn't going to play. And Minnesota beat them 134-114, rolled them by 20. And in that game, Minnesota out-rebounded Sacramento 49-38. And then the next game, people in the chat were asking me, hey, do you like him again? And I said, no, I'm going to stay away. I want to see, how much Sabonis and the new players change because they were playing the first game. And then you can see they came back and beat Minnesota 132-119. And when I went and looked at the game logs, they out-rebounded the T-Wolves 51-34 in that game. So Sabonis paid a huge dividend in that game. And then now we're going up against Washington, who is not a great rebounding team, and they've been struggling. So these games right here, I'm not worried about with Sacramento. They were getting blown out. They were doing horrible. They went and made some trades. Sabonis looks good. So they've only got one game under their belt, but they beat a really good Minnesota team that had just beat them by 20, and they came out and beat them by 13. So a healthy win. And I believe they were a 7.5 or 8 point dog in that game. So I'm riding on that one game, hoping they can keep up some of that momentum because they've got good scores and now they've got good backcourt with rebounding. So that should be a phenomenal hit. And one thing to know, like the Vegas spreads, they're basically taking the difference of 2 power models and then adding in a home court advantage is how they're calculating their plays. So Vegas can't calculate for Sabonis. They're not giving him enough weight at this point, so that's why our model has Sacramento -9, and you can probably get -2, -3 on your sports book. And then Washington, they're 2-4, and prior to that, they were just getting blown out. Phoenix blew them out. Miami blew them out. A horrible, horrible Brooklyn team that we just talked about, they beat by 1. So that's not an impressive win. This was pretty impressive, though, them beating Philadelphia. But all the other games, they were blown out of 5 of their 6 other losses. So play of the day is Sacramento -3. Let me look through my notes here and see. Washington is also 2-14 against the spread, 2-14 in a push over the last 17 games. And Washington at home is a 0-6-1 ATS play. So in the last 7 games, they have not covered a spread. And then, so let me show you real quick on the wrap up the plays. So our play of the day is going to be the Sacramento Kings. It was -3 when I bet it a few minutes ago. And then the other plays I want you to look at and think about betting is Toronto. They're red hot, 8-0 against the spread. Dallas, it could fall close to this number. Dallas should win the game. It's just a matter of covering the spread, but I do like it. Our model has Dallas as a much better team. And then we got Miami -10. If you're getting to a -10.5 or -11, I'd recommend going first half line and attacking it that way. Trendy pick, but not ours, is Denver over 223. Both of those games they're playing with a lot more possessions. It's trending over. And a game I like for a first half money line parlay is taking Phoenix, Chicago, and Miami and putting them together. I wasn't able to get Phoenix on one of my books. These two, it was -150 when you put them together. So hopefully if you put Phoenix in there, you can get closer to even money. But those are the plays I got. And of course, my favorite one is going to be Sacramento, followed by Toronto, and then Miami -10 or first half would be my top 3 picks. So make sure to subscribe down below. We're going to do a lot more NBA breakdowns and picks and plays, and follow us on Twitter. Have a good day, guys, and go make some money.